So I'm reading about Moses today, and what strikes me is the relationship that Moses had with God. It was this relationship where Moses had reverence for the Lord. It wasn't just respect. It was a type of awe, a type of reverence that encompassed a fear of the Lord. And what brings that home for me is reading about how the Israelites were complaining, right? They were complaining that there was no water, and they were like, well, why did you bring us up out of Egypt to this terrible place? It has no grains or figs, grapevines or pomegranates, and it has no water to drink, right? So Moses goes to the Lord and talks to the Lord about it. And the Lord says, all right, go ahead and take your staff, and I want you to speak to the rock, and water will flow. Well, Moses, he's fired up, right? And he's like, listen, you rebels, must we bring you water out of this rock? And he rose his arm and he struck the rock, right? And because of that, that disqualified him from going in to the promised land. Why? Because the Lord says this: because you broke faith with me in the presence of the Israelites, because you did not uphold my holiness among the Israelites. So the reason why this strikes me is because it doesn't say after that Moses turned his back on the Lord. Think about this. He has been leading the Israelites through the wilderness. Not only everything that he went through with the Pharaoh to release the Lord's people from slavery, to free them, but he went through year after year after year of being primarily responsible for leading all of the Lord's people through the wilderness. All of the instructions he followed prior to that. All of what he did to have the Lord's back and be like, y'all need to get it all the way together, right? He fasted twice. He went up that mountain and fasted for 40 days without no food, without no water, with the Lord, and received the 2 tablets with the 10 commandments. Then came down and saw that they created that golden calf. Then fasted again for 40 days and 40 nights on the behalf of the people. Moses did all of this over a period of 40 years of leading. And God says, based off of this one action, you will not enter the promised land. Think how much reassuring he had to do to the people. We're going to enter the promised land. We're going to see it. Most of us can't even wait days on the promise of the Lord. 40 years. But yet, Moses doesn't turn on the Lord. It don't say Moses was frustrated, irritated, pissed off. Moses turned away, and Moses went away sad, and Moses stopped doing what the Lord asked him to do. He stopped following the instruction with the Lord, and Moses broke covenant with the Lord because he was so angry. It don't even address the way how Moses felt in response to him not going into the promised land. Can you imagine? Even still, when we look towards the end of his time, he's allowed to look at the promised land to see it, but he can't go in it. And yet still, what does Moses do? He still does everything that he can to prepare the people to go into the promised land. If you look at even starting in chapter 29, he's talking to the people. He summons all the Israelites and he's talking to them. And he's trying to do everything that he can to get them prepared for the promised land. Make sure you obey the Lord. Make sure you pass this law down to your children. The public reading of the law, he's preparing Joshua for it, right? Make sure you're strong and courageous. You're about to lead these people. He's giving them the song of Moses the Lord gave to them to be able to remember the Lord and what he's done for them. Moses, he then goes on to bless the tribes. You got to see that Moses didn't get so wrapped up in his emotion that he at all skipped a beat with God. There was just this holy reverence for him. And just, it doesn't affect my relationship with you. Your ways, your thoughts, the way how you choose to deal with me and interact with me, what you have decided for me, has no bearing on your instruction for me. I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to complete the assignment. It has no bearing on the way that I feel about you. I still love you. I still am going to honor you. It has no bearing on the relationship. We don't skip a beat. If that is what you so desire, let it be so. He was denied access to the promised land that he had led the Israelites to for 40 years, and he himself couldn't go because of one action. So I want to talk to you about your own life. And I want to help you to see that this is how the Lord wants your relationship to be with him. That you don't view him as an option. That you don't view him as you do any other relationship in which there's an expectation for reciprocity. Not only an expectation for, but a demand, a requirement for things to be done on your terms as you create them. And if they're not, you out. You like, nah, I'm good. I'm not dealing with you. Or you just check out mentally. You there, but you not there. You ghost them. You like you done dealing with them. Like, this is not a relationship on human terms. This is the I am who I am, who can take your very breath from you if he desires, who can stop your heart beating in a moment if he desires, who created you. We cannot treat him as common. We cannot treat him as normal. We have to learn to develop this holy reverence, this fear of the Lord. The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. To have this, I honor your thoughts. I honor your ways. Look what he had to tell to Job when Job wanted to question him and call him on the carpet. God had to turn back around and was like, wait, hold up. Now you stand. Gird yourself as a man. Now let me question you. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? So make sure your relationship with God is not one that's common and not one in which you treat others. Revere the Lord and do what the Lord is asking you to do.